Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and ooh, look what I got in the mail! Today's video is all about the new Alter Ego Shadow Kiss eyeshadow palette, which is the dupe for Natasha Denonna's Glam palette, the $65 size one. This palette is $16. This video is not going to be a direct comparison of the Natasha Denonna Glam versus the Alter Ego palette because firstly, I don't own that palette, but secondly, and more importantly, Jen Phelps already put out an excellent comparison video. Ali Glines I saw today also put out a comparison video between the two, so that kind of information already exists. So if I'm not answering the question, should you buy this palette, because I never will answer that question for you, it's a very personal decision. And if I'm not answering how does it compare to the Natasha Denonna Glam palette, then what exactly am I doing here? And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some live swatches of all of these shades. Any eyeshadow palette that comes out, especially in today's time, there's no such thing as a palette that you need. Like the questions you need to ask yourself before you buy anything makeup related is, do the colors attract you? Do you like the formula? And is the price something reasonable for you, whatever that means for you? In the past, I've owned the Artemis, the Daydream, Canyon, and Blooms palettes. So I'm very well versed with Alter Ego's formula and I am a fan of it. It also varies from palette to palette depending on the kind of formula they're trying to replicate, but as you'll see in a lot of other Alter Ego videos, I'm sure this is not the only video you're watching on this palette. Alter Ego does a really good job of replicating formulas, not just color stories. Quickly, before we get into the overhead shots, I actually have two extra of the Alter Ego eyeshadow bases, so I figured I'd put on like the teeniest, tiniest giveaway for y'all. There will be the rules in the description box, but I'm gonna send these out to a couple of y'all. I already have like a full tube of this eyeshadow primer. It's also what I used on my eyes in addition to the palette, and I really like this primer. It has a little bit of a tacky base. It's a quick review of this product. Okay, let's get into the swatches. Okay, live swatch time. So I'm just gonna swatch these like across the rows. I'm not gonna be able to fit all like 15 shades down the length of my arm, so I'm just gonna do like half arm swatches and we can still see how the shades look wrapped around a curve. So let's first start with this Cloak shade, which is like a pinkish toned champagne. Let me zoom y'all in. There we go, that's better. So you can see a little more closely. So here is Cloak. Ooh, this is a little bit more of there are a few different metallic formulas in this palette. This is the more sparkly and flaky one. Let's just build it up towards the middle. And Cloak is described as a sparkled copper. Next is Vanish, which is the most like neutral brown in here. These two are pretty cool toned. And Vanish is actually described as a milky chocolate brown. This is what I would use as a transition most of the time. Actually, in today's eye look, I tried using just this Desire shade as my transition, and it just made me look a little too washed out because I have pretty yellow skin. But anyways, I'm glad that there's Vanish in here to kind of help balance that out. That was a very, very soft matte. As you could see how it applied, really creamy. Next we have Mist, which is described as a lightly sparkled sand color. Pretty much looks like another iteration of champagne to me. A lot of these are kind of off champagne, kind of like off-white, but off champagne. And you can see how the finish of Mist is a lot more satin and like soft than the finish of Cloak. Next we have Veil, which is the darkest shimmer in this palette, and it's described as a metallic dark chocolate. And so let's see how that swatches. Yeah, very toasted and smooth. So the thing with these swatches is I'm not expecting any of them to be bad, right? Because these are neutral shades. They're not very difficult to formulate. It's mostly just a collection of various shades that should work well together. The last shade we have in this row is Fog, which is described as a sparkled gray. Very cool toned, kind of what I would describe as a dark pewter. Ooh, like gunmetal, yeah, that's what it is. Ooh, what'll be interesting about this shade is to see how brown it becomes, because sometimes with these cool tone shadows, I find that it'll look super cool and gunmetal on the finger, and then once you swatch it out, it becomes more brown. So let's see. Oh wow, no, this one really retained the same color that it looked like on the finger. Yeah, but you can see in the shadow how that looks more brown, but in the light, where most of the attention and focus is, it has that grayness in it. Oh, I love these kind of gray to brown shadows. I think they look really, really interesting and fun on the eyes. Really transformative. It looks like you put a lot of effort in, but you really didn't. Now onto the second row, we have the lightest matte in this palette, and this is the shade Risk, which is described as a muted white ivory. White ivory, wow, what an interesting description. I wouldn't really agree with that. Yeah, I don't really know how I would use this shade. I'll poll y'all in the comments. How would you use a shade like this? Because I would not use it like in the crease or anything. Maybe as a lid shade, but I don't really know how to incorporate this into a practical look. These kind of gray tones always throw me off a bit because they don't look the best against my skin tone. Next we have Disguise, which is described as a metallic white. Ooh, it's a very cool toned highlighting shade. Let's put that down here. Ooh, this one is kind of sheer in terms of the coverage, you see? So if you want the color of this to show up, I think you'd have to layer it twice, or layer it once for 2 layers. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see the true pigment of that layer. Not the pigment, but like the color, the base color. Now for the rest of the shades, I'm going to swatch them on this other half of my arm. So we have this Tempt shade in the middle, which is like the only true pink I see in here. And it's described as a subtle pink with flecks of white. This one is what I was wearing on my lid in the beginning of this video. And it is a very like soft satin pink. It barely looks pink on my finger even. So this is one of the like soft finish metallics. Really pretty though. I love pink tones. They're my favorite colors to wear on my eyes. It's not super spectacular in terms of the shine or anything like that. As you can see, it's just a smooth swipe. Ooh, and then we have another like deeper silver moonlight shade almost. And so this is the shade Eclipse. Wow, it's called Eclipse and I called it like the moon. But anyways, it's described as a sparkled silver. I love these darker metallics, but I even find that I don't use them a lot on my eyes because I'm more used to or more comfortable with lighter metallics because I just know how to use them a little bit better and they're a little easier to control. But this one isn't too dark. Well, wow, it actually looks pretty dark. Let me build that up a little bit more because I did swipe it with my pinky. Every time I say swipe, it means swatch. I don't know why I'm saying swipe so much today. Swipe or no swiping. Wow, that's really beautiful. I like this shade even more than I like Fog because it's a little lighter, like it catches the light a little more strongly. Wow, is that my favorite one so far? Next we have the shade Shroud, which is similar to Cloak in that it has more sparkle to it. And this is described as a metallic white mixed with gray. Again, very interesting shade description. I would not have looked at this and thought to describe it as white with mixed in gray. It mostly looks gray to me. This kind of shadow I really love to use to shadow the lower lash line to add some shape. It's almost like an eyeliner, but because it has that sparkle to it, that light, it just catches the light and brightens up the eyes even though you're using it as a shadow. I don't know if that made any sense, but hopefully it did in terms of just what the perceived effect of it is. Yeah, you can see the sparkle there compared to like the shades it's next to. Ooh. Ooh, this is pretty. Wow! Like every new shade I'm swatching, I'm like, this one is my favorite. Let's move on. We have the shade Desire, which is described as a soft almond brown. It'll be interesting to see how different Desire and Shade really are, because in the pan they look so similar, like too similar to have both of them in the palette, as opposed to switching one out for a different kind of shade. But yes, here is Desire, and then we'll take a look at Shade next. Every time I swatch a shadow like this, I appreciate its beauty, its isolated beauty, but when I put it on my yellow skin and try to blend it out, it just looks a little like it's in the wrong place, you know what I mean? But I could definitely work with mixing these two shades for my own skin tone. A lot of y'all watching probably have a cooler skin tone than I do, so this will work for you. Next we have Shade, which is described as a matte chestnut brown versus a matte almond brown. And let's see, I didn't use this one on my eyes. Oh, this one is less cool. Wow, these mattes are very smooth, like not patchy at all. I think that actually does justify having both of those shades because they are doing things a little bit differently. Like you could use Desire to kind of set the base and then Shade to shade the outer corner or the shape of your eye if you're going for something a little more subtle. All right, to the center metallic called Dare. Dare is described as a shimmering angelic gold with white flecks. Touching it, it feels like it's one of those satins. Yeah, one of those soft, smooth satins. And the swatch confirms. It's another iteration of champagne. How many champagnes have we had? Like three different champagnes. All right, 2 shades left. Next we have Umbra, which is described as a matte cocoa brown. This is the deepest shade in the palette. And I did use this today to like shadow eyeline my eyes. And I feel like this is just gonna be exactly what we expect it to be, but let's see how smooth this dark matte shadow is, because usually that's the challenge for these kinds of shades. And, oh, okay. All right, that's not bad. It's not the smoothest thing ever, but it is also, firstly, a dark shade, which is hard, and secondly, a cool toned shade, which is even harder, so it's pretty much what I would expect from it. But I'm not someone who uses these kind of dark tones to really shade my eyes, like an outer corner or something like that. So it might give you some issues if you're using it in that way. Just heads up on that. And the last shade we have is Zeal. This is a gleaming gold with white sparkles. So it seems like Cloak, Shroud, and Zeal are the three shadows with that hyper like sparkly formula, whereas the rest of these shimmers are like that satin finish. So here's Zeal. It's pretty much the first true gold that we have in this palette. Wow, that's very soft. That felt super creamy when I was touching it. And here's a swatch of that. And it is a dependable, reliable gold. Ooh, it's kind of a deeper gold, a little more rich than just what you may think when you think gold. This is like a rich gold. Here are all the final swatches together. You can kind of see maybe some of the redundancy in the shadows, but overall, like this palette, all of these shades give you the full range that you will need for pretty much any neutral look. Oh, side note, I was talking about how like maybe Umbra might give you issues if you're using it to actually shadow and shade your eye. For that kind of use, I actually prefer to use shimmers like these two. Besides it blending easier, these metallics, when you use them that way, it just automatically adds more dimension to the look, because even these shadows alone have so much dimension because they catch light. That's kind of their job. Yeah, so try it out, All right, what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. If y'all made it to this part of the video, I'm amazed. Thank you so much. Again, I can't answer the question of whether or not you should buy this palette, but I presented you with as much of the objective information as I could in this video, and that's up to you. Anyways, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, that was the wrong part for my kiss. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember that y'all are my treasure. Find the beauty in every day, but most importantly, be kind to yourselves. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!